morning on Friday, the 6th of December 2024. It's 8 a.m. in the Gambia, and therefore coffee time on West Coast Radio with me, Peter Gomez. And coffee time is brought to you in association with the USAP EEC and GAM Food Trading, Easy Financial Services, Global Properties, Wave, Bloombank Africa, Tough Africa Global, and the Gambia Experience.
Did you know service plots are now available at Baki? Welcome to Baki, Tough City's fourth residential estate.
Yes, service plots available at Baki with 3 years interest-free payment plan with a minimum deposit of only $94,000, and it will come with fence plot, water reticulation, electricity, solar street lights, and bituminized internal roads. Are you ready to build your dream home for yourself?
Call us now.
And coming up in the program, why you shouldn't listen to Madi Jobarteh on the issue of a new constitution for the Gambia, even if he means well for the country. The views of a fellow analyst. President Barrow to host his OMVG counterparts for the signing of 3 crucial conventions, his spokesman says, and Parliament poised to pass a new law on metrology. 2 senior staff of the Catholic Relief Services will join me in the second half of the program to celebrate 60 years of the aid organization's existence in the Gambia. And it wouldn't be coffee time without the day's newspaper headlines to start us off with it. So we'll do those right after this. Thanks again for joining us.
Hello. If I own a business account with Trust Bank, how can I pay salaries to my employees to other banks?
Kindly send us an instruction through your corporate officer, that's your relationship manager. Send the instruction through a hard copy and we will kindly process for you. It is easy, it is simple. We will need few information from you. Each customer's name, the BBAN, and the bank it needs to be sent to. The BBAN should be complete and it should be in 18 digits. Please kindly forward this and then it will be processed the same day and all the funds will be credited in other banks as well. Thank you.
And we begin our press review with the Point newspaper. Over 4,000 Gambians await deportation from Germany. Barrow vows to connect Kiang communities through infrastructural development. Pensioners urge government to rescind exemptions from salary increment. GFA offers prescriptions to combat corruption in government. D-League officer reportedly aiding or arrested for reportedly aiding drug trafficker. Gambia hosts 11th OMVG Heads of State and Government Summit on Saturday. And in Rwanda, CG Dabo shares Gambia's transformative journey in tax digitalization. On to Foraya's front page. Usainu Bojang alleges gruesome torture at anti-crime unit. Minister says work afoot to develop regulations for tour operators. NAMS adopt report on bill amalgamating weights and measures with Standard Bureau. Govi and GFD commemorate International Day of Persons with Disability. Agric Minister says government in process of acquiring 180 tractors, and 2 top municipal police officers accuse KMC of unfair treatment. Next, a look at the Voices front cover. UDP's Njai frowns at Barrow's claim of outpacing Jawara and Jammeh's development gains. Municipal police officers accuse KMC of nepotism in appointments. UN report on number of women and girls killed is not just figures. Man denies obtaining $248,000 from 3 individuals on promise of taking them to Europe. Action Aid conducts study to examine nexus of women's leadership and climate change adaptation. And Caravan Against GBV serves as powerful platform for addressing GBV issues in CRR. And we end with the Standards front cover. Chief Magistrate Njai arrested and interdicted. Government to unveil findings of investigation into Kamalo land allocation. UTG staff and faculty reject government's proposal and resume strike. Tal says 2024 draft could lead to another dictatorship. Gambia to host OMVG Saturday, and 2 municipal police officers accuse KMC of favoritism, KMC heads, that is. And that was your first look at the front pages of Friday's newspapers. Our thanks to The Standard, Foraya, The Point, and The Voice.
Looking for an establishment where value for money and unrivaled services with admirable turnaround time is guaranteed? The Port of Banjul is the perfect place for you. A vital gateway for trade offering connections to numerous global destinations. With improved infrastructure combined with a flexible tariff, the Port of Banjul remains a vital node in maritime trade. Along with its dedicated workforce, efficient service delivery, technology-inspired innovation, and an impressive record in handling all types of cargo, the Port of Banjul is also widely acknowledged as one of the safest ports on the continent with no history of piracy. As a major player in the region's maritime trade, accounting for 90% of all imports and exports, we are more than just a transit point, but a vital cog in the global trade sphere. Come experience a hassle-free fast customs clearance inspired by our simplified trade documentation procedures, safe and efficient cargo and vessel handling. The Port of Banjul offers prompt, reliable and value-for-money service, and customer satisfaction is guaranteed.
It's Friday, the 6th of December, 2024, and live on West Coast Radio, it's coffee time with me, Peter Gomez. Thanks for joining us. Don't listen to Madi Jobarteh. That's the advice of one of his brothers in the proverbial struggle, Musa Jeng. You see, Musa has listened to Alaji Baro on Tuesday and Madi just yesterday on Coffee Time and come to the conclusion that if he doesn't speak out against his fellow analysts, they might negatively influence a parliamentary vote on the draft constitution offered by the Barrow administration. And since Coffee Time is open to all shades of opinion, especially if it's Gambians talking to and with each other, here are the thoughts of Musa Jeng.
Good morning, Peter. Thank you very much. I just wanted to take this opportunity to give my 2 cents, or should I say 2 bututs, on this draft constitution that's at the National Assembly they're debating on. After listening to 2 individuals, that is Alaji Baro and then this morning, Madi, I kept saying to myself, if these 2 people have it their way, there's no doubt this draft constitution will not have a day in the National Assembly. And I do disagree. I wanted to give it another perspective on this issue. As I listened to Alaji kept calling it, characterizing the 2024 draft, the APRC NPP draft constitution. That kind of makes me giggle, because I know exactly what Alaji is doing. Alaji is what I would call poisoning the well. In as much as I understand where he's coming from, that there is no doubt that the executive tinkering with the 2020 draft, the people's draft, just that in itself can really create problems for a lot of Gambians, really. I mean, I'm very suspicious of their intent. There is no doubt it was done for selfish reasons. But put that aside, I still do believe that the 2024 draft, you can tell that almost 90% of it came from the 2020 draft, which one would call the People's Constitution. So to just say that it's an NPP, APRC constitution, it's I think there's a lot more to it than giving it that characterization, and I think it doesn't help. It wouldn't really give it chance for any kind of compromise. And as I listened to Madi this morning, Peter, both Alaji and Madi, I tend to be very reluctant disagreeing with them, because I'm convinced that their heart is in the right place and they're genuine when it comes to certain issues. But on this particular issue, I do believe that when I listened to Madi this morning, his approach is strategically not helpful to our evolving democracy, Peter. I seriously do doubt that. And I'm hoping that Gambians do not listen to Madi on this issue. Madi's suggestion that we need to create this constitutional outfit or constitutional council in order for them to work on creating a new constitution that he considers the People's Constitution, in as much as it's laudable as it may sound, but that's not going to happen, Peter. There is a need for us to play with the cards that we are dealt with. And that is the 2024 draft, the one that was gazetted and the one that is at the National Assembly, with a lot of flaws, no doubt. but with a possibility of a compromise, we can make it a good constitution. Now, the preferred option, Peter, a good majority of Gambians would like to see the 2020 draft to be on the table instead of the current draft. But that's not where we are, Peter. We have debated and opinions of all kinds have been heard. There is no doubt that tinkering with the 2020 draft by the executive and the 2020 draft itself, not all Gambians were not completely sold on it. But for them to come and tinker with it, it really did not help the 2024 draft chances in passing the National Assembly. But now, Peter, the fundamental question that all of us have to wrestle with, do we want a new constitution with its flaws to allow the NAMs to find a bipartisan compromise? Or do we want to settle with the 1997 constitution? Peter, the US Constitution is touted as a document that reflects the instrument of democracy. That same document had gone through several amendments, and there are still debates for new amendments to perfect it. The original US Constitution, Peter, if we go back, neither women or blacks could even vote, and their rights were unequal to whites. So that tells you that whatever frustration or disappointment and reservations we have, and rightly so, we have to be strategic in our journey in building a new Gambia. Having a new constitution, Peter, that would give us a term limit, an absolute majority clause, is not a small leap or an accomplishment. Let us encourage and talk to the NAMs to find other bipartisan compromises and once and for all get rid of the last legacy of the Jammeh's reign of terror. Peter, remember, instead of being disgusted with this executive tinkering with the document, which there is no doubt it was done for selfish political reasons, but like the Wolofs would say, suma mbokki fana fana yi, lu loxo mun a defati, benen loxo mun na koy dindi. In as much as I understand the reluctance that some of us have, willing to settle for total rejection, I am not convinced that it is strategically helpful to our evolving democracy, Peter. I am praying and hoping that there are reasonable NAMs that are willing to drive a bipartisan streak that would lead us to a compromise that majority of Gambians can vote for in a referendum, Peter. Madi did talk about how, let's say, for the Senate, it would not be a bad idea to have the National Assembly to be overseeing, confirmation of cabinet officers. I would love to see that. But like I said, we cannot allow just that clause to, what would they say, dump the child with the bathwater. I think if we can have a term limit as an insurance policy in our back pocket, if we can have 50+1, that no one can be elected with an absolute majority, Peter, I think, if you ask me, it is worth for us to give it a look. Let's find where we can compromise. And when everything is said and done, going into 2026 election with the 1997 Constitution, I seriously doubt whether that is the smart move to make. In conclusion, I seriously hate to wake up after the 2026 presidential elections and begin to engage in what could have, should have, lan lañ waroon a def, nii lañ ko waroon a defee, maybe suñ yëgoon. It'll be too little too late, Peter. Thanks again.
And that's Musa Jeng of For the People, By the People fame. We thank him for his thoughts. In the National Assembly, meanwhile, deputies have focused on metrology rather than a constitution. Here's our parliamentary reporter, Esaba.
The National Assembly of the Gambia on Thursday adopted the report of the National Assembly Select Committee on Trade and Regional Integration on the Gambia Legal Metrology Bill 2023. This bill introduced in Parliament on the 4th of March 2024 and subsequently referred to the Assembly Business Committee for committal to the relevant committee after the second reading is, according to the report, due to the advances and sophistication in science and technology in recent years, of which measuring devices are no exception. This called for the need to redraft the legal metrology bill in order to address challenges posed by these instruments. As indicated in the report, the present Weight and Measures Act 1977 and the standards of the Weight and Measures Rules 1979 are deficient in some of its sections and not serving its purpose. This bill, when enacted, will broaden the scope of legal metrology to regulate measurements in trade, health, law enforcement and environment. It will also help instill fair play in the utilization and application of metrology equipment in the course of trade transactions, also ensuring that the consumer get his or her money's worth or value of goods and commodities in trade transaction, the report further indicates. Honorable Kiaba Jallo, National Assembly member for Jara Central and chairman of the National Assembly Select Committee on Trade and Regional Integration, said the committee relied on the testimonies of witnesses to review the details of the whole bill clause by clause, taking due notice of any input aimed at adding value to the content of the bill. The legal metrology bill, consisting of 13 parts and 49 clauses, according to the report, will also facilitate socio-economic development of the country, inter-regional and international trade, and consumer protection. The bill also amalgamates the Weights and Measures Bureau, a department under the Ministry of Trade, Industry, Regional Integration and Employment, into the Gambia Standards Bureau as the Department of Legal Metrology. Reporting for West Coast Radio, I am Esaba.
President Barrow is poised to host this weekend the 11th ordinary session of the heads of state and government of the Gambia River Basin Development Organization, better known by its French acronym OMVG. The meeting opens in Banjul tomorrow, and according to Barrow's spokesman Ibrahim G. Sankare, 3 crucial conventions are expected to be signed on the Kanyanga-Geba rivers, the Koliba-Korubal rivers, and the terms and conditions for financing OMVG common works. The African Development Bank plans to lend Morocco 650 million euros to develop transportation infrastructure for the World Cup in 2030. Bank President Akinwumi Adesina said financing to develop Morocco's rail and airport infrastructure for the World Cup would be put to the board for approval. Morocco will host the 2030 World Cup jointly with Spain and Portugal. It will be the second African country to host the World Cup after South Africa in 2010. Morocco also plans to build a large stadium in Ben Slimane near Casablanca and upgrade 6 others. And Ghana's 2 main presidential contenders have staged rival rallies in the capital Accra on Thursday evening, courting voters in a final push ahead of legislative and presidential elections set for Saturday. Former President John Dramani Mahama, leader of the main opposition National Democratic Congress Party, told hundreds of supporters that the election was a decisive moment for the nation, urging voters to reset the country. Pre-election polls have tipped him as the favorite to win. His campaign has leveraged Ghana's worst economic crisis in a generation, framing Vice President Mahamadou Bawumia, the flag bearer of the ruling New Patriotic Party NPP, as a perpetrator of the policies that led to the crisis. A few kilometers away at the University of Ghana campus, former central banker Bawumia addressed hundreds of supporters, touting Ghana's emergence from the crisis and suggesting Ghana's economy had performed better than when Mahama was president from 2012 to 2016. It's coffee time on West Coast Radio.